From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
It's time for some Lifesavers. This table is covered in Lifesavers candies. I have, and this was going to shock you, a pathological fear of Lifesavers. No, wait, Jolly Ranchers. That's the one. Yeah. Lifesavers sponsor the show. Jolly Ranchers,
I'm just going to say you don't then.
No.
Because if you have a pathological fear of it,
yes,
you'd know what it was.
That's probably true. I don't
That's a life coach.
Yeah.
Boom! Boom!
It's funny because you go back to our
you
Patreon and it's me talking about how the worst thing you can do is just tell a patient they're wrong in the first session, and that's Jacob's entire bit.
Yeah.
His entire bit. Hey, you got the wrong brand name. Get out. No, wait, I still have 50 minutes. No, you don't. Leave the money on the counter.
You did.
Get out. I got you. You're cured. You're welcome. No, the rectangles, cubes. Jolly Ranch. So Lifesavers are the circles. That's why they're called Lifesavers. And then Jolly Ranchers are the cubes. You know, where you open it by pulling the two ends and it unravels and it's like
they're
watermelon.
not cubes, but go on.
Well, what would you call that then?
What is that? It's a rectangle.
It's a three-dimensional rectangle.
A cube-tangle.
A cube-tangle. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
I feel like that's as close as it's going to get. I feel
somebody's
going to write in.
Correct us.
They're like, so I have a master's in physical geometry.
I have a master's in cube tangles.
Cube-tangular. Yeah, cube-tangles. 100% of people just closed their eyes and said, yeah, I know what you're talking about with the cube-tangle. So those things have tried to kill me twice. In 2 different episodes of my life, I have had a Jolly Rancher in my mouth, and it has lodged perfectly into my windpipe,
not perfectly
causing
enough.
me to almost die. One time I was on Mount Charleston with my son, and I had a Jolly Rancher. I just put it in my mouth, and we both started looking up to look at stars. And this thing,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be
it
laughing.
just slid right into the sweet spot, and I was like, "This is where I die. This is it." And so like that was bad, and I was like, I throw myself against the car to get it out. So like that popped. That was scary. And the other one was randomly in my bedroom one day. And I put a Jolly Rancher in my mouth, and I started coughing. And I coughed and then inhaled and sucked that thing right into the windpipe. And that, too, was terrifying. God, you want to see time slow down. Lodge a Jolly Rancher into your windpipe.
No, thank you.
That is an eternity.
A rectangular cuboid.
That feels
is one term for it.
I think we can all agree mine's better. Rectangular cuboid versus cube tangle.
I mean, there's got to be a better name for it.
Get better PR.
Like cylinder.
Get better PR geometry. Okay? You're doing this to yourselves.
Yeah.
This is why STEM is dying.
Again, I think Cube Tangle,
Cube Tangle solid.
Good band name.
Oh, Cube Tangle. Well, honestly, if it was a band name, I want Rectangular Cuboid.
I would go with Cube Tangle.
Yeah, I feel like the merch is better with Rectangular Cuboid.
Yeah,
You're not thinking it through. But speaking about merch and speaking about sponsorship, we have a very special message from a very fun sponsor. And so very special thanks to Premium Jane, who is sponsoring the show. Let's let the people know about Premium Jane.
Well, I will let them know, especially if you're having trouble with anxiety at night. Well, you're not alone if you are. 1/3 of Americans have trouble sleeping on a regular basis. And can you blame them?
Nope, I don't.
It can be challenging to turn off your brain at times, especially with all that's going on.
There is a lot going on.
There is, however, some hope, and it comes in the form of a plant. Premium Jane is a U.S.-based CBD company offering incredible natural products like oils, topicals, capsules, and gummies. If you've been searching for a product to help support a sense of calm and to promote healthy sleep cycles, Premium Jane is for you. Go to premiumjane.com and save 20% on your first order by using the coupon code PodTherapy.
All
That's
one word.
premiumjane.com
/PodTherapy.
That won't.
That won't do anything?
No, don't do that.
Premiumjane.com /Jolly Rancher.
Try it.
Give it a shot. The
Give
404 will direct you somewhere.
Yeah. But coupon code PodTherapy.
All one word. Premiumjane.com. And you know what? Show them the love, folks. I mean, not every company in the world is like, hey, let's sponsor a little mental health show. And these folks thought highly of us and said, you know what? We drive in similar lanes. We're pro mental health, and our products are things that we think are helpful to folks. And you guys don't have any moral objections to it, so let's partner up. So thank you, PremiumJane.com, for showing your support of mental health and for thinking enough of our audience to want to partner with them. We're grateful for you sponsoring our show. So, great questions today. Super excited. The first one is about becoming a therapist. I always like these industry questions. Howdy, fellas. I've been looking into becoming a therapist. You've given out a lot of information on the pod about the field, and I have a question. What does the dirty side of therapy look like? This is good. Every job has its ups and downs, everything from exploitation to corruption to bodily harm. What hazards are there in the field of therapy? I've heard Jim's entry, which is the writer's referring to my Patreon segment I have called Jim's Journal, which I do every once in a while. And the writer says, I've heard Jim's entry about his client who completed suicide and how that impacted him, and you've given advice on therapists dealing with internalized negativity and helping clients. I feel like becoming a therapist would be a good profession for me, but I'd like to know what I'm getting myself into. Thanks a bunch, patron Ian W., and gave us some pronouns of he and him. Thank you, Ian. Pronouns always help us do our work.
The biggest drawback is you have to explain to people that you're a therapist.
That's hard.
Yeah. And then you get lumped into a category with people like us.
Yeah, you don't want that. Yeah. Number one thing is you distinguish yourself.
We have not helped our industry.
No. Yeah. So what do? I'm a therapist, but not like Nick and Jim. Just don't, not in the same boat. Those guys are on their own island somewhere in the sun.
So the dirty side.
The dirty side of the profession.
Okay.
Number
one.
We get to complain.
Number one.
Yes.
You're not going to make a whole lot of money. Mm-hmm. Let's just start with that. Yep. If you have any dreams of becoming a therapist and living in a ritzy, fancy neighborhood and in a big, driving your Bentley, work through that really quick and let that go.
Or decide to be a life coach.
Life coaching is very lucrative. So in our profession, there is a resentment when it comes to money. And part of it's because healthcare, big picture, mental health has been siloed away from the rest of healthcare for a long time. So while the rest of healthcare, the prices kept going up and up and up, and insurances kept having to keep up with it, a lot of insurances for a lot of years just said, oh no, we just don't cover mental health. Mental health is not healthcare. That's something that, like, you go to a strip mall and there's like a lawyer's office and a salon and a therapist. And like, that's not part of healthcare, right? That's just like a boutique thing. And so since the Obama administration, that's been changing with the Mental Health Equality Act and other things that are starting to require insurances to cover it, and then also changing the way that therapists are compensated. But at the end of the day, here's the gripe among therapists. And I love you nurses, but I'm going to use you for comparison because America's very familiar with you. So let's take a nurse. A nurse can go get
Take my nurse,
please. You could go get an associate's degree, which is a 2-year degree, and you could be an LPN or an LVN. Those do not let out into a lot of big careers, but it's like a junior nurse. You can go get a bachelor's degree, and you could become a BSN, a registered nurse, an RN. Very lucrative career for a lot of people who become nurses. If you're a traveling nurse, you make stupid money. If you're a traveling nurse, especially in COVID times, you're making like $75,000 a month. It's insane right now, which is obviously a fluke. That's rare. But a nurse makes good money. If they work for a hospital, they can guarantee their income. They work these, 312s or whatever. They make really good money just with a bachelor's degree. If they go back and get a 1 to 2 year master's degree, they can become a nurse practitioner, which is essentially a full-blown prescribing provider. They're making almost doctor money at that point. They're just beneath a doctor for most clinics. They're running clinics by themselves. They are making big money. They're seeing people all day long just writing scripts. Compare that to a therapist. Therapist gets a bachelor's degree, no income. That's not going to let out into income. If they become a junior level substance abuse counselor, they're getting some income. It's nowhere close to what a nurse would get with that same 4 years of effort. But then a therapist has to go back and do a clinical master's degree, which is a very heavy degree. You're talking like 60 to 70 credits. And included in that is 1 year of intern labor where you're going to work for free doing this job. You will not make money for 2 to 3 years. You're going to take $50,000 to $100,000 of student debt to do that. And then when you get out, you're going to spend another...
How much student debt?
50 to 100,000 is the average on a master's.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's not including the bachelor's.
I misheard you.
Yeah. So then the person gets out into the profession, and in their profession, they are new, and they have to spend 2 to 3 years in internship, where they're not usually fetching the best possible price they can get for their work. A lot of times they're working for agencies and hospitals and anywhere they can get a job, a lot of times charities. And again, when it's all said and done, after a master's degree and 3 years professional experience and getting these very high licenses, they will still probably not even make as much as a regular nurse, a regular RN who didn't even level up into APRN. A full-blown therapist will probably still not make that much. That was always really hard for me. I remember when I was running facilities, and I knew how much everybody got paid, and I knew that my regular nurse, who was just sitting in a chair overseeing a station and giving out medicine twice a day, I was paying those people more than I was paying master-level, clinical supervisor-level therapists who were incredible and whose name and face was driving our company. But the competing wage wasn't even close. Like, nurses just made a lot more. So Nick's first point, I just echo that with real numbers there to tell you it's a solid middle-class income.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you'll get by.
You'll get by.
You're fine.
And
you'll be...
woe is us. We're sitting here whining about it. But
right.
At the end of the day, folks, it's a healthcare profession. I want that profession to have dignity. I want it to be compensated at the level that society needs it to for more people to be drawn into it during these epidemics that are happening and these mental health crises. We don't fund it. It's the teachers of healthcare.
And for me, it's worth it because I enjoy it.
Right.
Like, it's definitely worth it. We were actually just talking about this, I think, in the episode that you weren't on. That
was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good
I've
one.
heard it's a really good episode.
Let's stop this one and just replay that one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do yourself a favor.
Go back to 164.
But just the idea of, like, being able to manage money for me was so important because I wanted my current job, but I also wanted financial security.
Right.
So I achieved financial security by working myself out of debt and taking care of all that stuff so I can keep working this job and do what I love.
Without having higher needs.
But it is frustrating sometimes because, like, so many of my friends that are working in different industries, they have expendable income that I just don't have.
Right.
And they're doing things that I just can't do, but it's like, that's fine.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with it. The most important thing is loving what you do. And again, like, I'm not saying, like, I make what a McDonald's employee makes by any means.
McDonald's assistant manager, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you want to work your way up, yeah.
You're not starting out there,
right?
Earn that.
But you can get by. It's fine. That's the important thing.
It's a very humble field. It's a very humble field.
Now, I think the other downside, or I wouldn't say downside, but the dirty side of it is you got to make sure that it requires a lot of mental and emotional discipline.
Yes, it does.
So if you're still working on achieving that, then you can, maybe want to put off becoming a therapist for a little bit.
You get better at it as you go.
Yes.
Yeah, as you pursue the career, you get those skills.
I mean, the big thing I always say is because what drives a lot of people into treating mental health or treating substance use disorder is their own personal, private experience with it.
Right.
That's good. Because that does bring something to the table, right? Having your own personal experience. But becoming a therapist or becoming a counselor is not your therapy or your counseling.
Yeah, okay? I'd say that there's.
So you have to make sure that you've got yourself taken care of, and then you go into this field. But going into the field is not going to be a treatment for your own stuff.
Right.
Because of this reason, because it requires so much mental and emotional discipline.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly dealing with some important things, other people's lives, and if you want to get into this field at all, you probably already have a pretty high sense of empathy.
Right.
So it becomes easy for you to empathize with people, which sometimes can become hazardous when you empathize too much with people.
Sure.
Because you start taking on their stuff.
It's definitely, and I think that's true of all healthcare. We can all be wounded by the work that doesn't get done. I'll tell you one dirty side of therapy for me. Dirty, I think that word makes it sound scandalous and fun, but it's not. Loneliness. Yeah, for me,
there's nothing scandalous or fun about being a therapist.
Nothing scandalous or exciting. The loneliness, I think, for me, has been a career difficulty where you can definitely work as a therapist in environments that are collaborative. When Nick and I worked at the rehab, we'd go to lunch together all the time. We'd have, coffee together in the morning. We'd have our meetings. We'd have a team meeting at one point. We would see each other as we went through the houses and checked in on our patients. We'd be putting out fires together. And that was a very different reality for me, because it was like, oh, good, I'm constantly collaborating with people. That's nice. But in private practice, and this is true of many therapists, whether they're in private practice or just doing therapy as their profession and they're doing real session work, it is extremely isolating, which is ironic because you're talking to humans all day long. That is what you're doing. And I'm not a very functionally different human during my sessions than I am here with you guys. I am the same guy, but it's very professionalized in that sense that I am laser focused on this patient and what's going on with them. Everything I'm doing in that hour is in service to them. It's not Jim's time.
It's not a two-way.
It's not two-way, and it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
You shouldn't go in to see your dentist, and he's like, "Hey, can you check my teeth?" Like, no, we're here for a very specific reason, bud. And that's okay. But it is very isolating because for me, I might see, let's say, 6 to 8 patients in a day, and when my day's done, it's bedtime, and I'm done, and there's not a lot of socializing. There's not a lot of camaraderie. I don't have comrades or clinicians to bump paths with. As a therapist, your life is measured in minutes, like your time off, like whenever you're in between sessions, it's measured in 5-minute increments. So you can go get a Coke, or get you a sip of water or, put some water in your face. So the loneliness for me is one of the difficulties of the profession that I don't know that other healthcare professions have to deal with as obviously. Like if you're a dentist, you're just constantly talking to assistants and like your team and you're walking in between. As a therapist, you're usually one-on-one. Unless you've migrated into a non-clinical role, you're almost always one-on-one.
Yeah. I think another thing, too, is you got to make sure that you're really good at compartmentalizing and self-care.
Yeah.
I mean, for the exact reason that Jim was just talking about, it becomes challenging, and you have to be very careful not to take stuff home with you.
Oh, yeah.
Such as the suicide that Jim was talking about, or the experiences that I've talked about in the past working with teens and adolescents.
Right.
Some of them, I've had some clients that got stuck into human trafficking and they just disappear and you don't know where they're at.
Right. And you know them better than anybody else.
Exactly.
Their other healthcare providers are like, oh yeah, what was that patient's name? Like, their human story, you spend real time with them and that bond sticks to you, which is good. I'd rather be on that side of the street than be partitioned off.
Yeah.
But, the compassion fatigue and the empathy sticking to you is really hard. Also, back to my point of loneliness, friendship building has been hard. Because if you go to a bar with some buddies and, your friend introduces you to some friends or you go to a volleyball team, or there was a time I was in a pool league, billiards, shooting pool, it was always an issue, because I'd talk to people and if you say, oh, I'm a dentist, they go, oh, great. I have a box for you. I know where that is. And I also know when we're talking about your health trade versus when we're not. If you're talking about teeth, I know you have your dentist hat on. If you're not talking about teeth, I can just treat you like a guy playing pool. But as a therapist, it's very difficult because my medical discipline is life. All of it. And so it's hard to know if you're talking to me as a friend and you're telling me about your relationship or whatever. It's very difficult to know if you're talking to Jim, a guy shooting pool with you, or Jim, who's also a therapist. And I've noticed it muddies the water of my friendships.
I never really
I can't have them.
I never had that experience per se, but I have had a lot of experiences. I think I've talked about this in the show before, like golfing, where in Vegas you get paired up with people who are on vacation, and I've met people from all over, and they'll be talking about, how shit-faced drunk they got the night before and all this stuff. And they ask me what I do. And then all of a sudden they sober up.
Yeah,
and
they're Buzzkill Tangeman's here.
No, that's a great profession. That's great. And then they have to act different.
Yeah,
and I just feel
Changes
like saying
dynamic.
like guys, I don't care. Like you don't have to act different around. You drink, that's fine.
Right. I don't
do
care.
your thing.
But for me, it's definitely cost me friendships. Like I can honestly say it is a lonely profession in that
You think
sense.
that's what did it, huh?
I think that's it. I think it's specifically a therapist thing.
I was just about to say that.
What's with the guy not wearing pants? Oh, he's a therapist. That's why people don't like me. So there's some dirty side to it, but hey, it's a solid
if you're
question.
interested in it, then check it out. I can't say, looking back on it, that I would have done anything different.
No, I agree. And like, I like that Ian said, hey, listen, I know every profession has its downside. And that's why Ian's writing that and saying, so listen, you guys talk all the time about the positives and you go through it. Be real with us. What are the drawbacks? And so, sure, financially, it's not a well rewarded career. Socially, it can lead to a lot of isolation. A lot of therapists struggle with having real, genuine friendships where they, as a person, can have their needs met, because the nature of it's probably partially on us, that our nature is to help and to participate toward another human, and we're very distrustful about giving our truth to anybody. And it's very rare to feel in my life like I'm being treated like a human instead of also a therapist.
And burnout rate is pretty high.
Burnout rate is high. Yeah. Or people migrate out of the chair and start doing other things because they can't keep doing it. Like at some point they burn out. So the best therapists often gravitate away from doing it, which is interesting too.
We also have this is a side part, but we do have an industry that reinforces that too.
That's true. Yeah, the industry is like, you're really good at this. Stop doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to promote you. You're so good at it.
You're so good at it. You should never sit with another patient again.
Yeah.
And that also speaks to how poorly rewarded sitting in the chair is.
Yes.
That it's, you're going to be higher rewarded for supervising people that sit in the chairs instead of sitting in the chairs.
Yep.
And it speaks to the industry at large. And that's a healthcare finance thing, which you should listen to the interview that was released in early March of Devaraj, the CFO of Hospital Network, who speaks to that issue. So good question, Ian. And, hopefully you'll keep looking into it. Hey, you know that we love it or we wouldn't be doing it. But sure, there's some drawbacks as well. So that's usually the deal. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we are discussing treatment-resistant depression. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Don, and Scott Jameson. Would you like to become a sponsor of the show?
You would.
Become a therapy producer? Go to patreon.com/therapy. This week's trivia theme, in honor of our therapy producers, is coffee.
Coffee? I like coffee. In fact, I have some.
To grow enough coffee beans to produce 1 cup of coffee, you will need this much water. If you'd like to join the therapy producers and make the show possible, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/.
I'll bet it's going to be depressing.
I happen to know the answer to this.
Do you really?
It is 1 fuck ton.
Oh, wait, a metric?
Nailed it.
Is it metric or is that imperial?
Nah, it's both.
But your answer has to be within a shitload.
Yeah. So give or take. Well, I bet you it's going to be a depressing answer, like how you discover that pistachios, like 1 pistachio is like 10 gallons of water, and you're like, what? Like, we do not have that kind of water laying around.
Is it almonds?
That might be it.
I think almonds are the ones that are like, this is a huge amount of water.
Yeah, it's a tank of water
to
for
create
every
an
almond.
almond. Yeah.
Wow. All right. How much water to give you enough coffee beans to get you a cup of coffee?
Does that count the water that goes into the cup?
No, I think it's only the plants. That's a good point. 8 ounces. Final answer. I'm going to go with, I'll call it by gallons, and I'll go, I'll say 10 gallons. 10 gallons of water gets you a cup of beans.
I'll guess over.
Yes.
Wow.
37 gallons.
Correct!
Brave. How much was it?
37 gallons.
Jeez!
Yeah, that's a lot.
37 gallons.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, 37 gallons and 1 cup, to be specific.
Right.
Yeah, because you got to get that cup. Jeez. Yes. Wow.
So that's 140 liters to our listeners outside of the States.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
It's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. Yeah. All right, this one's about treatment-resistant depression. Hey, guys, I've been living with depression pretty much all my life, at least as far back as I can remember. I've spent years in therapy and have tried many medications. Nothing's worked. I feel like the next step for me is ECT, which is terrifying. ECT, for the listener, is electroconvulsive therapy.
Correct.
I'm still relatively young, in my 20s, so most of the advice I get is, it'll get better. You still have time to figure out life. I feel completely hopeless because I can't imagine any sort of life for me. I have never had a desire to go to college or work in a specific job or to start a family or travel or really do anything. It would be easier if I once had ambition and lost it, but I have never even pictured myself living past 18. And somehow, years later, I'm still here and stuck. Not to get super morbid, but I have always thought I would die by suicide. I guess I don't know exactly what I'm asking, just for some general advice, I suppose. Thanks, guys. Anonymous.
Okay. Does Anonymous say whether or not they've been in therapy?
They've said therapy for years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and also medications. And so that's the treatment-resistant component.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first thing is we got to address the suicide first.
Yep.
Please don't.
Yes.
Please don't do that. It's a very permanent solution. I was going to look up the.
It's not a solution at all. And we'll make sure to give you guys the number. So the first thing, Ryder, thank you for your honesty about it. And I think that this is a difficult thing, and this is something I've seen in a lot of patients over the years. Depression is really frustrating for a lot of reasons. One of them is that part of the treatment approach for it, and part of what is called for, is to be somewhat positive and optimistic, and to encourage and use what we call in therapy motivational interviewing to create the expectation of improvement in the patient. That's actually called for. That's actually part of this. And it's a good part of your solution. But the frustration here is that at the same time, if you have malignant chronic depression that is responsive to different treatments, it's really stubborn, and it's hard for you, the patient, to continue to believe that things are going to get better and to not feel that people are overlooking you or condescending to you when they're trying to help.
I do
very tricky.
I do get the frustration of hearing it'll get better.
Yeah.
You still have time to figure that out.
Don't worry, you're in your 20s, it'll pass.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I've been like this my whole life.
Yeah, and that message I can get, I understand that can get frustrating.
It can. And, we try to come alongside you, as I'm sure many others have, and try to bring a message of futurism to say to you, hey, it does get better, there is improvement, hold on to that. And I totally respect you, Ryder, that this is condescending to some point. It is ineffective. And so I guess I just want to relate that I understand that, and I also understand why people do it. That doesn't mean either side's wrong. I just want to appreciate the complexity with you. I think that honors what you're telling us.
Yeah. And jumping into the ECT thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts on this are, Jim, but
yeah,
that may not be a bad idea to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing when we hear about ECT, the thing that I always picture is old movies,
right?
Where they've got
Ghostbusters, bite sticks are involved,
right.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. It's advanced, a lot, and some people have had success with that.
They have, and we should not understate that.
It's not torture.
No.
It looks like torture.
No.
But I mean, you're unconscious for it. You're not awake during this procedure.
During ECT?
Yeah, pretty sure. Pretty sure you're not.
I thought you were conscious.
I don't think so.
Are you thinking of TMS? So
what?
Okay. So obviously, I think that all the listeners just put together, Nick and I have never performed electroconvulsive therapy. My understanding of ECT, and Nick's looking it up as we talk, but my understanding is it is based on Skinnerism, and so you're talking about primitive behaviorism, and so it has to do with using electroshock to reorient the brain in its thinking patterns.
Google says you're not conscious.
Done under general anesthesia.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
There it is. So I'm curious if that's an option. A lot of people are starting to explore TMS, which is transmagnetic stimulation. That's when they do these little 20-minute sessions of putting an electro helmet on you, and it is kind of using electromagnetic waves throughout your brain to attempt to change stubborn depression. So treatment-resistant depression is often referred to these days toward TMS treatment. I have mixed feelings about TMS. I think there's a lot of over-promising and under-delivering that I've seen in the community with it.
I don't know a lot about TMS.
I'm comfortable with people trying it. It's usually like a pretty long commitment of doing like 3 days a week for 6 weeks, these little 20-minute sessions where you jump in the chair, they put a little helmet on you, they flip the switch, you hear some pinging and some zapping, and then they let you go. And, I've definitely had folks tell me that they feel that it's been helpful to them. I've had folks discontinue therapy because that has solved it. I've also had folks that have come back and felt disappointed with it. So I guess just we want to tell you, Ryder, that there are more options on the table. I like that you've tried medicines over time. I hope that you're still collaborating with a prescriber and that you are communicating to that prescriber, this is not working for me. I am regressing. that needs to be said. And sometimes we can get into that cognitive distortion of fortune telling and telling ourselves, oh, I already know what's going to happen. I already know it's not going to turn out good. I'm not even going to try. And I want to discourage you from that. You know, I want to make sure that you're talking to your provider regularly. You're giving these updates and that you're staying open-minded, writer. What else could you do? You know, you ought to stay open-minded. And if they say, hey, listen, we did buspirone, we're going to switch it over to sertraline. And you're like, God, I already tried Prozac. I don't want to try sertraline. It's going to be the same damn thing. Be open-minded, you know, take the feedback. And if they say we want to try something else, try something else. You know, we got to keep trying until we find solutions. Right. And at the end of the day, another thing that the writer's talking about, which I'm interested in kind of exploring, the writer's talking about being in their 20s, and they're mentioning life direction, which I think is an important concession from the writer to, you know, they're teaching us a little bit about one of the areas of their life that contributes to depression when they talk about stagnancy. I never wanted to go to college. I never had a job I was interested in. I don't want to travel. I don't have these beacons of light, living purposes that other people can get their brains to wrap toward. I don't have an ambition. If I used to have ambition and I lost it, that would have been one thing, but I didn't ever have it, and so I just feel stagnant and lost and lethargic, right? And sometimes it's hard to know the cart and the horse. How much of that is depression? How much of that is the groundwork that depression is festering in? It's an important thing to kind of go over.
It is. It's something that a lot of people in your 20s, regardless of mental health issues,
right,
kind of struggle with that.
Well, I think it's also the fertile ground that many mental illnesses live in, is that early 20s angst of not having a life direction or things that you're focused on that are the distractions of life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to that. But how do you develop that? Like, that's the thing. Like, how do you develop some kind of direction? Right. I think here's kind of the silver lining in all of this is that you're kind of at a spot right now where you can't fail.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
If you want to find something positive here, like in a way, it's like as opposed to an individual that has always felt like, I just know I'm going to make it in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're 5'7", you know,
right.
Like,
not going to happen.
Like, maybe not. Having that idea that I know this is what's going to happen. I am destined to do this. This is the thing, you know, that can be very difficult for somebody then to be able to accept that that's not happening. Whereas in a situation where you have right now where, you know, like, I feel like I don't have any direction. I feel like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You kind of have a blank slate, right? I mean, so, as kind of words of encouragement, maybe let's use that to our advantage. Let's, you know, you can feel free to experiment with things, you know, try different things because your destiny isn't written. You know, you can kind
of, you have a lot of opening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
I had a patient in this last year, that actually in the last 2 years, when I began seeing this patient in early 2019, they had chronic treatment-resistant depression, and it was very difficult with suicidal ideation. And so medicines had not worked over the years, different therapists had not worked over the years, this person had tried so many different things, and they were feeling very hopeless. But they had decided, you know, their friends had put them in a position where they said, you're going to see a therapist, you're going to try again. And the friends had looked me up and said, hey, you know, here, go see Jim. And so this person opened up to me in the beginning and said, listen, I have very low, you know, hope here. And I said, okay, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's one weird trick. I'm not going to sit here and condescend to you. I'm going to say our goal right now is to survive. Our goal right now is to come here to be open and honest and willing. And let's just start there. And so we started there. And over the course of our treatment, we did some things that this person had worked on before, but we did them a little bit differently. We tried TMS, which the person had found mixed results with. I got that person willing to talk to a psychiatrist again, got them paired with a good one. We became willing to try new things. And so we were throwing everything at it. We took a kitchen sink approach. And then ultimately this person decided it was in their best interest to move, which was a big part of their solution. We'd also identified drinking and marijuana smoking that were complicating things, which a lot of people will shrug their head and say, oh, come on, I've tried medicines, those didn't work, so yeah, I drink or I smoke. I don't believe in medicines, I believe in these. And I always condescend to them a little bit and say, oh no, we both agree that you believe in medicine. You're just picking the ones that are over the counter and not prescription.
Right.
You're self-medicating with alcohol. You're self-medicating with marijuana. I just want to discuss other medicinal alternatives instead of these, because these ones aren't working for you. Can we both agree that you're a bad doctor? You know, and so like usually I can tease people into willingness to take a look at that. Over the course of this person's treatment, they also moved, and moving to another state was a very important life decision that we made together. We worked toward it. It was not impulsive. And I can tell you that today this person has succeeded. They have overcome the depressive cycles. Life is still difficult at times, but they're wildly successful. And we were just reflecting on the beginning of this and how treatment-resistant their depression had been. We took a whole life approach. We really pushed, and ultimately they did find success. I tell you that story, Ryder, because I think it's important that you hear stories like that. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that you hear that I've seen real patients that probably relate to you. And the solution for them was a kitchen sink, all-in mentality. I will do, if you tell me to stand on my head, sip a cup of water, and whistle Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, I will do it. I'm willing to do everything. And that big, huge decision really helped us move a lot of things into the right direction. And that's not to say it's your fault that you have depression, right, or that you're unwilling.
Right.
Certainly you've tried a lot.
Yeah.
But I want to come alongside you and just be a motivator and a voice that says, we got to keep doing the next right thing.
Yep. No, I agree.
And now, if I'm that patient and I say I'm tired of trying things, now what?
I mean, I guess I want to respect and understand where that human lives, as long as we're not entertaining ideas that don't make any sense. Suicide is not a solution. Suicide is not the abandonment of the problem. Suicide is not a concession. Suicide is not a tool. Suicide is nothing. It is succumbing to the disease. And there's no pride in it, there's no resolve in it, there's no relief in it. It is nothing. And so that is always going to be off limits. That's not on the table. If somebody says, I'm unwilling to get help, I can't talk to a therapist, I can't get medicine, I can't do ECT, I can't do TMS, I am just going to sit here for a while and not do anything. I'm comfortable with them doing that. I still want to talk to them every once in a while.
Okay.
I'm good with you doing a support group for a little while. I'm good with you taking a break from all forms of help, as long as you're not doing anything to make it worse. If you're drinking too much or smoking too much, you're exacerbating the problem. I just want you to be at least able to admit to me that you're doing that.
And that hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. So 800-273-8255.
Ryder, thank you for being honest. Thank you for telling us about your truth. I encourage you to keep exploring ECT, see if that's right for you. I encourage you to explore TMS. I hope that you're continuing with your provider, your psychiatrist, your prescriber. I hope that you're communicating feedback and teaching them what's not working. I hope that you're honest, open-minded, and willing to, receive new ideas and to maybe even consider big change.
Yeah.
Not life-ending change, life-changing change.
Right.
Because you have nothing to lose. If you need to pack up and go join a cruise line and do that for 2 years to do something different, maybe you should.
Yep.
Life change is okay, and that is a formidable way to deal with depression sometimes too.
Yeah, and I know the writer says at ECT, which is terrifying. I get that because I think that's the message
the
that
stigma of it is
all
terrifying.
learned through
But it is a real medical treatment. It has real efficacy, real results.
I would look into it because I don't think it's going to be as terrifying as you may think it is.
Not at all. Yeah, I think if you learn more about it, you'll discover more. Yeah. So, but hey, Ryder, thank you for your honesty.
Thank you.
So many people relate to you. Hang in there, our friend, and keep us updated. Let us know about things that change in your life, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So sometimes we just got to be willing to change anything and everything until we find results.
Mm-hmm. Keep working at it, and do things on a regular basis that are actively, you working on this. Take a walk. So, today I'm going to work on this. I'm going to focus on myself, and today I'm just going to take a walk somewhere that's nice.
Incremental change.
Movement is important.
Never underestimate the power of incremental small changes.
Yep.
None of them are going to be a miracle, but it's little pebbles on the scale that hopefully start to tip things.
And they each make things a little bit nicer, a little bit better.
Hopefully you feel honored today, Ryder. I hope we didn't come off as condescending. We are, but we never want to be. So...
One of us was condescending.
By we.
Let's take the under over on that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss how to know if you're in love. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by these people who we love. Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Don, and Scott Jameson.
Love those guys.
Would you like to become a sponsor of the show? Do so and become a Theraproducer at patreon.com/therapy. And continuing on with our theme of coffee, the Grand Cafe Cocktail Bar in Oxford is the site of England's first coffee house, built in what year? You must have the correct answer within 6 months.
Oh, come on.
If you'd like to join the Theraproducers and make the show possible, you can go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
Right. So I see all these TikToks
1847.
He's probably right. I see all these TikToks about how the Oxford University is older than the Aztec Empire. And that's mind-blowing. But,
Yeah.
okay. So that means it's damn old, you know? And so I probably should think of that as like either 1500s or 1600s. First, coffee. I feel like coffee's an international concept, so I feel like there needed to be trade. I'm going 1700 on the nose.
1700? Okay, you said 1700 and you said what?
1847, I think. That's what I said.
Okay.
Can it be Price is Right rules where if you get the closest without going over, you're technically the winner?
Closest without going over?
Yes.
Okay, you both lost.
Damn it. What was it?
1652.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
They had coffee back then.
If you would just shut up, you would have won.
Should have said
You
zero.
The day Christ was born.
I'm taking one AD, please. Nailed it. Yeah, that's probably true. I could have done that. Well, whatever, coffee. All right, this is a really good question. Really got me thinking a lot. Knowing when you're in love. How do you know when you're in love with somebody romantically? I'm having trouble processing feelings I'm having, and I don't know if it's because I'm not sure yet or if my own depression is getting in the way. What are some things I can do to help me figure this out? It's a good question, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nick, how do you know when you're in love?
I'm out. I don't know.
Well, writer, it's kind of like... Gonna find
go
my
ahead.
baby, gonna hold her tight, gonna grab some afternoon delight. My motto's always been that when it's right, while waiting till the middle of a cold, dark night, when everything's a little clearer in the light of day. And we know the night is always gonna be there anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite, looking for a little afternoon delight, rubbing sticks and stones together, hoping sparks ignite. And the thought of loving you is getting so exciting. Skyrockets in sight. Woo! Afternoon delight. Whoop! Oh, afternoon delight. I've blocked most of these. No, that is not a challenge. Please don't. I'm sorry. You got one up my pant leg.
I'm impressed that you pushed through.
Thanks for the commitment. Yeah.
Despite being
pelted
with poker chips.
I went there. I went for it. I think that was the answer. I think that was the only answer. I think that was the right answer.
Yeah.
What's that other thing, Ron? Love. Wow, jeez. Guess it's kind of like
That's
this.
funny.
Disappointed in both of you for not joining in.
I joined in.
You kind of did.
I was the harmony part.
I booed.
You mostly booed.
Yeah.
Did three things.
Yep.
Which is an important piece.
It's solid.
I've been in love several times, and it's looked different every time.
Okay.
So that's all I can say.
Love is a many splendid thing.
I mean, this is a hard enough question with just the title.
Yeah, right.
All right. Then when you start, when you throw in the piece about like how does depression come in, get in the way?
Yeah.
That's the part I don't really understand. Are we saying that because you're not sure if these symptoms you're experiencing are depressive symptoms, or are you saying that I have depressive symptoms, therefore it becomes difficult for me to identify?
I think it's that one. I think it's more like, hey, if you have depression and you're latching to a human, how do you know how much of that's love? How much of that is just...
because I'm dealing with depression.
Solace seeking.
It's just,
and bonding, trauma bonding, things like that. So, okay.
that's a good question.
Love is not an objective thing. Obviously, everybody knows that. There's not a line that you have crossed, and now this is what love looks like, and everything before that's not. So love is entirely subjectively defined. You, the human, get to decide what this looks like. Having said that, I also want to take away the idea that love is a defined space at all, even subjectively. I don't believe in a bright line concept. I believe that it's a proportionate concept. So if you live on an island and there is nobody else in the world that you can ever talk to again, and the only other person is this other human who's randomly on that island, it isn't about compatibility at that point. It isn't about whether you guys truly bond. You will develop love for that human for no other reason than the proximity. If it's a freaking volleyball, you may develop love.
Well, it reminds me of the. Did you ever watch the last? I think it was called The Last
Man on Earth. Yeah, that was solid.
Will Forte.
Yeah, that was really funny. That was so funny. He really is the last man on Earth. Yeah. So I think that love is this slippery concept, and I think you as a human define it. when I think, and this is where I take issue with your question, and not you, writer, but this idea, it's an American idea. When we think of love as a bordered-in concept, we look at it to legitimize things. Like, oh, whenever I'm in love with this person, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you're in love with them. Okay, so now we can't question this anymore. Or now it's achieved some kind of differential status, and so I didn't realize you were in love, right? I don't agree with that, because I think that relationship bonding is a continuum. I also don't think it's a straight line up or down. We talk about the triangle theory of love, and I've mentioned it before on the show, where you think about the three corners of the triangle, and people locate anywhere inside of that triangle, meaning they have different proportions of those three elements. So one of them's intimacy, one of them's passion, and one of them's commitment. You can have a legitimate relationship that has no commitment whatsoever and is extremely passionate and is extremely intimate. You could have a legitimate relationship that's all commitment and has no friendship anymore or no chemical passion anymore, but is committed. That counts, right? And you could love that person as family or love them as, a partner, and so I think it's really difficult because I think it's very, very hard to define that idea of what is love. When are you in it? Just because I don't like the wording of that, because I think that doesn't honor what human, things are. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of married couples that have been married for years. They're not in love anymore, but they're still deeply committed to each other. They are family bonded, and that's a different kind of love. So that counts too. So it's very difficult to kind of say what is or isn't love.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
I feel like my song got pretty damn close. I feel like the Afternoon Delight bit, that's about as solid of an answer as you're going to get. I guess, writer, I like that you're thinking about it. I like that you're asking, can my depression change my perspective and give me a wrong idea of how committed I am to this person or how important they are to me? Yes. That is true.
But is that wrong?
It doesn't mean that you're wrong.
Right.
Because that might be part of your truth. And if your truth is, okay, I am a depressed man or woman, and this relationship is meeting my needs, and you're saying, oh, well, do I care about them even more because I'm depressed? Yeah, maybe. Maybe they're good at being, a good partner to a depressed person, and that's okay. Like, you're allowed to count that. You know, that doesn't mean it's
exactly.
wrong or
I don't think that doesn't count.
No,
right.
It's not illegitimate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. To me, writer, I look for, when I try to build love in people, I think I'm more comfortable answering that question. And it has to do with sort of, what are their needs? What are their languages? How are we in proximity to them? Are we, working with them to try to make them feel connected, bonded, loved, cared for, and understood? If those things are happening, I think love is beginning to be nourished. And I think love really just means romantic relational bonding, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I guess for you, writer, it's a hard question to know. Check in with yourself. I want to challenge you not to have a partition mentality of out of love, in love. Mm-hmm. I just don't think it's defined. And so I think you'd be better off thinking, where's my bond with this human right now? We're not friendly anymore. We're not, at 50-year anniversary level. Where are we in the spectrum? And I think you're allowed to reflect on that and describe that however you feel comfortable with. There's things I really love about this person. My relationship is deepening. Learning how to language your affection and your bond to another person, I think, is really helpful because it relieves you of the duty of just saying love, not in love. That binary mentality I don't think serves you.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think that's kind of the issue that I've always had with that too, is like there's some sort of threshold that like you're not in love and then all of a sudden you're in love.
Right.
Just
light switching.
I've never understood that concept.
I just don't think it's true. I think that we have tried. I think the reason that concept exists,
Hollywood.
Honestly, yes. I think it's because it fundamentally fits into storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whether it's a book or whether it's a movie, the plot line is better served not by nuance and gradual affection building, because that can't fit. Instead, it's definitive marker.
Right.
I wasn't in love with this person. Suddenly I'm catching feelings for this person. And it's happening. And that's the other thing I think it's really tricky with humans is I think, and I don't necessarily completely disagree with this, but a lot of humans are very comfortable describing love as something that's happening to them and they're not participating in. Like, what else could I do? I fell in love. It's this involuntary thing. I caught feelings for this person. I didn't intend to. It just happened. And I don't think they're wrong, because I think that is the truth of a lot of dynamics. But I also can see where that is extra confusing, because then it's like, wow, you really do need to discern whether this is happening to you versus asking yourself, well, how do you feel about the person? Where do I stand? You know, most humans can make a pros and cons list and weigh out the nuance, which I would like you to do, Ryder. And that sometimes helps you contextualize how you feel about another person.
Yeah.
Look for those other words, though. You know, I think that if you look at the triangle theory of love, each quadrant of the triangle has a lot of different words that can help you kind of clarify where a relationship is at. Like infatuation, you know, can be a cycle of a relationship. There's a lot of different words that kind of, there's consummate love, which is sort of that center of all like the areas. So there's lots of different ways that you could kind of stylize love. So look at the theories of love. Go to Triangle Theory of Love and maybe look through the quadrants, see if you relate to any of the words that describe that. And, you know, again, it's not an in or out thing. I think it's a both and. I think, maybe you are in love. Maybe you feel loving toward this person. But that also doesn't mean that suddenly they've achieved some bright line where now you're stuck with them or you can't rethink it or whatever. Like, no. Like, I think it's always a fluid thing. Mm-hmm. Also, read my book. Go to dadvicebook.com where there's a chapter called Love Conditionally.
Jeez, that's like... There was 2 episodes in a row where that wasn't plugged
I haven't said it in a while.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think I said it during any of the Zoom episodes. So it's been a minute.
I would, but I don't have a kid. I don't have any kids.
No, damn it.
That's right.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
God,
sorry.
I got to tell you guys really quick before we end the show. So this week I had a patient who, end of the conversation, they just randomly were like, "Oh, by the way, I picked up your book," and I was like, "Oh, great, thank you. Like that's super nice of you. Thank you for your support." And this person took a couple of extra minutes to tell me, "Hey, I need you to know, I fit the demographic of what this book was, who it was written to, and it really meant a lot to me." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." Like, you know, and I wasn't sure what they were talking about. And they were like, "Well, when I saw your title, Dad Vice, 50 Fatherly Life Lessons, I thought, oh my God, this is great. I didn't have a dad growing up, and I would love to have that voice. This sounds great to me. I've been looking for a book like this." And I was like, oh my God, you're like the only person who ever saw my title and knew what I was trying to do. Everybody thinks it's an advice for fathers. And the person was like, no, it was pretty clear to me. And they were like, I got the book, I read the intro, and in the intro you say it pretty clearly, like, hey, you're a dad, you're a therapist. If, you're going to give advice to your kids, it'd be your best therapeutic stuff. It's going to have a paternal voice. If you don't have a dad in your life, feel free to internalize this as a father. And this patient was like, I needed that. And then it was really nice. Like, they were like, the whole book, I liked your paternal voice. It was great for me. It really hit a spot that I needed to hear. Thank you. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, you are the only human in history to ever be like, hey, I got your book on the level you wrote it.
I was really hoping that person was going to then start describing that other guy's book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The book Nick got me for Christmas.
That would have been hilarious.
Oh, man. Wasn't it called like Fatherly Wisdom or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, that was so
No, perfect. It was Fatherly Advice.
It was Fatherly
there
Advice.
You go.
Yeah, that was it.
Advice.
Oh, yeah. That'd have been great if they're like, and it led me to Christ.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what?
Huh?
That wasn't in my book.
Also, check out his book.
Yeah, go check out
that's
book.
Actually good.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
He does have pictures. I think he has like graphs.
And it's $1 cheaper.
It's $1 cheaper. It has graphs, and it's actually the same color scheme. It's amazing. Anyway, we are at the end of our show, and so it is time to thank all the folks who support us at patreon.com.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I want to remind everybody as far as our Patreon rewards.
Yeah, goodies.
So at the end of March, because this is coming out in the middle of March, at the end of March, we will have our movie up.
Yes.
Right? Our commentary on a therapy movie. We haven't decided what it's going to be
That stabbing
yet.
motion you're doing with your index finger in my direction feels like you're telling me I need to get on it.
I am.
Okay.
I'm telling you, we need, hey.
Yeah.
Remind me.
The clicking of the fingers also, it's helping me.
And then also, at the end of March, we draw one name out of the hat, and we give away merch.
Yep.
So, but you have to be a pterodactyl or above.
Yep.
For 3 months. So January, February, March, if you were one of those 2 levels for all 3 months,
you're in the drawing.
Your name goes in and
free stuff.
So if you want to be included in that raffle in the next quarter, you'd want to start in April.
Yep.
So just a heads up.
If you are just joining us at patreon.com/therapy, remember that we record these episodes in 2-week increments. So if we missed you, we love you. We're thankful for you. We will definitely announce you next go around. And if you missed it, at the beginning of every month, I've been uploading an interview a long-form interview with different folks having to do with mental health. And so in February, it was with Sonal, our British therapist who joined Nick and I. It was a great interview, a lot of fun. Go back and find that again. You can go into our patreon.com/therapy and just search interview, and you'll find it. I believe it's available for Theropods and up. And in March, it's going to be available for everybody, including TheraPals. And this is the one about healthcare finance. It's with CFO, Chief Financial Officer Devaraj, a friend of mine, who really gets into the nuance of the healthcare transparency laws that have come out about listing prices of healthcare, how to beat the healthcare prices, and kind of insider tips about why the healthcare system is broken and what's been going on with it. So really, really, really insightful, very nuanced, super great guy to even take the time to do that. So awesome stuff. That's up at patreon.com/therapy. And, this episode, which you can usually get a day early. If you're listening to this in general audience, you can get these on Wednesday with an extra hour of content, usually us behind the scenes talking shop and doing our regular stuff. So patreon.com/therapy. But we want to thank our bosses, the Saccharin 16, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club. We're talking about those Theraproducers. People like Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Elio Dare, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Dawn, Crazy Banana Scoop, Mason Miller, Scott Jameson, Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, and Reverend Scoop Kevin.
And Malaya.
And Malaya.
You missed one.
No, you missed one. I said Malaya just now after you corrected me.
All right. Wow,
that is called cognitive dissonance.
Jesus. I was not prepared for that. If you
time loop.
If you would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
and why wouldn't you?
And enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to Patreon. You've got one job.
And pelting me with chips.
I'm looking at therapy movies. I'm looking at lists of therapy movies.
He's over there nursing a sore arm.
Yeah. I think I pulled something.
An ice bath.
Go to patreon.com/therapy and thank you for supporting mental health.
Jacob's throwing the heat. That's all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Open up the episode description in your podcast app and copy and paste that link we provided into your social media. Don't forget you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Oh,
I'm actually upset with myself that I did a unison instead of taking the
didn't
upper
take
third
the octave,
or lower third or
so
octave.
I'll tell you the horrible.
That's not why I'm upset with you.
Yeah, I texted Jacob on the way here the lyrics to that song just in case he would need them because I said
didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes, he did.
Yep, which is why he refused to participate. Probably because if I wouldn't have texted, he'd have been like, "Oh yeah, that's spontaneous. Let's jump in." But because he knew that's where I was going,
I would have sung along otherwise.
I think you would have. I feel like you would have.
As soon as you started singing, I was like, "Oh shit, I don't have time to look up the lyrics."
Sorry, I should have bet on you. I bet on Jacob. I thought he would join in.
Oh, wrong.
Jacob's the one with the history in voice work.
I joined in to a different degree than you wanted.
It was more percussion.
You could say, it was percussion.
It was percussion. Yeah, he really.